This video was brought to you by No Limit Gaming, Pixel Palace Games, Heroes in Games, and Worthy Financial.
Hey guys, I'm here today to talk about Kuriboh deck. It's a fun, casual, gimmicky deck, but I hope you guys enjoy it. So we start off with two normal Kuribohs. They save you from damage, and they're a good playmaker with Multiply and other Link 1 plays. Then we have one Winged Kuriboh. Same deal as normal Kuriboh, just saves you from battle damage. Then we have three Kuribohs. They're essentially cell charge for Kuribohs. So late game, you just go +4, +5 off of them, assuming things are going well for you. And they can also save a monster that was destroyed by battle. So if you have any weird plays you ever need to do, it gets you there. Then we have two Reeling Kuribohs. Every time they're tributed, you get to draw a card, and it saves you from destruction by battle. So it's really what ties the Kuriboh engine and the Layer of Darkness engine together. Dare I say, link them together. Then we have one Morphing Jar number 2. It's a bit slow since it's a flip effect, but it can clear your opponent's board fairly reliably, and all of your monsters are level 1, so you get them back, no real cost there. Then we have two Darkest Diablos, Lord of the Lair. You're doing a lot of tributing with your monsters. It's a free special summon, and a lot of decks have a hard time getting over it. So it wins games, it tributes, and it can lead to more link plays if you need to go into them. Then we have three Arima, the Wicked Warden. They search out Layer of Darkness, which is really the main engine of the deck. It's what lets you it's what lets you survive. You can tribute to search out Diablos, tribute your opponent's monster for cost, and just keep plussing that way. It's a very versatile card, and you want to see it as much as you can. Then we have one Global. Again, fairly simple card. Just link plays, and it gets you more tribute fodder if you need it. Then we have Evil Thorn. You tribute it, which gets Diablos or Layer plays. You deal 300 damage to your opponent, which wins in time. So, And then you get to summon two more Evil Thorns from your deck. So it really gives you more board presence than anything. So you want to see it in your opening hand, or a way to search it out. So now we move on to spells. We have one for one. It's the best searcher for the deck since almost everything's a level 1. So you have a lot of targets with it, and you don't really care about having too many monsters in grave, because they all do something there also. So it searches out whatever target you need. I usually go for Kuriboh, but that's more of a personal preference. Then we have one Mystic Mine, because if there's one thing Kuribohs can do, it's stall. So there's nothing wrong with having one in the deck. It helps you win a lot of games that you wouldn't otherwise come back from, but 2 doesn't do much for you, and 3's just excessive. Then we have 3 Layer of Darkness. It's also the main engine of the deck. It's what lets you clear your opponent's board. It gives you more advantage the more you tribute, so it's what lets you keep going. And a lot of decks have a hard time getting over when you tribute their stuff for cost. So it leads to some interesting interactions. Then we have Terraforming, which searches out Layer. Not much to explain there. And we have One Day of Peace. I'd run it at as many copies as I could, but it's limited. Both players draw a card, and it saves both players from any damage until your next turn. A lot of opponents forget that, so they build up a board. So on your turn, you can just tribute everything and basically take away everything they build up for. It gives you more cards too, so nothing wrong with running it. Foolish Burial, same deal as One Day of Peace. run as many copies as you can. There are no real bad targets for it. You can always either choose from a Kuriboh, a Glow Up Bulb, or Diablos, so, nothing wrong with having it. Instant Fusion, I run it at 1 because I only have room in the extra deck for 1 target, and that's usually enough. It gets you a body on board. Depending on what you want to run, it can get you another level 1, which is kind of your goal. Then we have 1 Monster Reborn. Again, same deal. Whatever you send to grave, you want a way to get it back. Late game gets you your link plays back, or just your opponent's boss monster that you tributed, most likely for cost. Then we have 3 enemy controllers. It works really well with Lair since you tribute all of their monsters and gain control of it. Attack for damage and then just link out of it. Every time I've seen it, it's always come in handy, and it can also save you from potential OTKs against Utopia Double or just any other roguelike strategy. Then we have 1 Multiply. We have a few ways to search out Kuriboh, but we don't run enough for 3 to be reliable, and 2 is generally more bricky. So I run it at 1, since if you would focus on resolving Multiply, there's usually a way to do it, but it's not the main focus of the deck. It just kind of comes in handy. Then we have Scapegoat. Again, just gets you bodies on board, saves you from the OTK if you need to. Most of the time it's used for link plays and that surprise OTK. Then we have Mask Change 2. All Kuribohs are dark, or all monsters will become dark through Lair. So Dark Law is a very oppressive monster against most decks, like Spiral and Orchist. And tributing level 1 isn't that hard to do. So very easy to target and not hard to play around for you. Then we have 2 Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. You only run 3 Kuribohs. You don't want to have more targets. You don't want to have more flutes than targets. So 2 flutes, 3 total targets to summon. Gets you a body on board. It's a quick play, so if your opponent tries to clear your board, you can just special summon Winged Kuriboh and buy yourself another turn. It's a very versatile card depending on how you want to use it. Then we have Crackdown, which lets your deck function. Kuribohs generally try to play as much as they can on their opponent's turn, and since Crackdown's a trap, it does that job fairly well. You can interrupt their combos if you need to, steal any boss monsters. If you know what you're playing and know what to stop, this can be one of the most oppressive cards in the deck. And then we have Switcheroo. It's more or less the main win con. You get as many Kuribohs as you can, then you just link plays with it, and then you just switch control of all monsters you control with your opponent. So after they build up a fairly strong board, and you only have that 1 Kuriboh in hand, just Switcheroo, tribute for link Kuriboh, end phase you'll get a token, and then trade 2 for 2. It gets you out of a lot of decks that are immune to their own things. Whenever I use it against Trap Tricks, it usually helps me come back from everything, since their monsters aren't affected by traps. So it's helped me out in a lot of situations, and nobody's ever ready for it. So, but again, 3 is a bit bricky. So for the extra deck, 3 link Kuribohs are really the only necessity. You want to have as many as you can. It lets you tribute everything from your. It lets you tribute any level 1 monster. So paired with Lair, if they get any tokens out, you can tribute that. It'll trigger Diablos most of the time. It's just a very helpful card. Easy to make, easy to get rid of. No reason not to run it at 3. Space Insulator, it's just a generic link 2. If you summon a link Kuriboh or Deco Talk or something, it'll come back during the next main phase. So it gives you more tribute fodder too. So it's just a useful card, but again, you only need 1. Then we have Nightmare Cerberus. pretty generic staple. We have one B cop from the underworld. It just pairs really well with layer. Everything becomes dark. It's not hard to get two different monsters on field. It gives you protection for whatever you need it on, and again, most of the time you contribute your opponent's monster for cost. We have one Wee Witch's Apprentice. Again, same deal as B-Cop, more or less generic for the deck, and when it's destroyed, it'll give you one dark monster back. So it can give you a Kuriboh if you need it, a Narima if most of the time, or just pretty much anything you would need since most of them are dark. We have one Nightmare Unicorn, just meta staple, like gets rid of stuff. Boreal Sword Dragon, it helps you with an OTK, and I think one of the best feelings I've ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is OTKing your opponent with Kuribohs. Just nobody's ready for it. And then we have one Deco Talker. Again, fairly generic. It protects you from targeting and tributes everything. So a few of your monsters will be weak to targeting, especially if you steal theirs. So it'll just protect everything, and tributing lets you get more tokens off layer. Then we have Darklaw. Again, it just helps against a lot of meta decks, like Orcus and Spirals. I've never had mass change in my opening hand and no way to resolve it, so Darklaw comes in handy a lot. Then we have Dingirsu. This is completely optional, especially if you're playing on a budget. I wouldn't recommend running it. It mostly comes in handy against the Orcus matchups when you steal their Galatea and then just overlay. Diablos is also level 8, so worst case scenario, you can always fall back on it and just overlay 2 Diablos. Again, this is personal preference. I was just able to pull one, but I wouldn't recommend it if you don't have one already. Then we have 1000 Irish Restrict. It's your instant fusion target and a level 1. So you just absorb one of your opponent's monsters if you're going second and then link it away. Depending on your hand, you can always monster reborn it and just sit on 1000 Irish Restrict. There are worse ways to end a board. Then we have one Nightmare Phoenix. Again, just back row removal. You can't go wrong with that. And then we have Boreal Dragon. He fits in with the theme a lot more than Boreal Sword. And depending on what your opponent's field's looking like, he might be the better target. Non-targeting steal, that's what the deck wants to be. So again, between Boreal and Boreal Sword, you'll always have a way to win, regardless of your opponent's board. And then we have my tokens, which are objectively the best part of the deck. Thank you guys for watching.